Motion to terminate Keith Freeman.
You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their
Mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, following her capture trying to GB a federal agent, Illinois has intensified her problem. This scandal has stunned everyone and sparked fresh worries. According to rumors, she is attempting to get married while under federal inquiry. This simply serves to increase the existing scrutiny and may be the first indicator of a much bigger problem that might compromise her credibility and position. Things are still tense and unclear.
In South Suburban Dalton today, first, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law by providing financial.
The Henyard of Tiffany, for those who are not familiar with the current drama, the never-ending stream of scandals has taken a darker turn, giving a trip of corruption, power battles, and a government on the verge of collapse. The hen house, the troubled Dalton, Illinois, mayor has been under close investigation for a number of dubious acts and claims. From using government credit cards to spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars on extravagant events with dubious numbers, financial mismanagement has been a problem since gaining office in 2021. Almost every week, it seems like a new headline concerning Henyard appears. The FBI is tightening its hold on Henyard's operations, and the federal probe into her acts has grown. Insiders close to the matter have intimated that Henyard is becoming desperate as a result of bribery rumors making her crisis worse. According to sources, Henyard may have even tried to bribe federal agents looking into her, which would have further escalated the already dire situation. If these rumors turn out to be accurate, they could signal the start of one of the most shocking investigations into corruption. In light of recent corruption convictions, it is not just startling but outright unbelievable that someone would attempt to buy their way out of a federal inquiry. Many have been shocked by reckless Henyard's desperate attempt to avoid the consequences of her actions, particularly in light of her already damaged record and the ongoing investigations. Reports have revealed her extravagant spending habits, which include first-class luxury travel and lavish lifestyles that appear to be funded by public funds. Extravagant shopping trips that are financed by the public. The most shocking of all is the revelation that Hand's administration has left Dalton in a staggering $3.6 million deficit. The village, which was once financially stable, is now facing an economic crisis under Henyard's leadership. These financial problems are made worse by her incapacity to address the urgent concerns of Dalton's workforce, especially the town's firefighters whose union contract has been unresolved for years. This is directly related to Henyard's refusal to interact with union representatives in a meaningful way, which further erodes trust between the administration and the people of Dalton. What's even more concerning is the apparent lack of accountability among Henyard's inner circle. Important allies like Lisa Lacey, the former deputy police chief, have been instrumental in protecting Henyard from scrutiny even after being fired by the Lacey, has kept up her duty reporting, a move that has prompted local leaders to express alarm. It has been revealed that Lacey, one of Henyard's most devoted supporters, has assisted the mayor in hiding her most heinous acts, such as the financial mismanagement that has contributed to the village's financial crisis. Trustees, shocked by this defiance, have sought legal counsel to address the matter, highlighting the deep erosion of accountability within Dalton's government. There are unsettling concerns over the possibility of a coordinated corruption ring, given the role that Lacey and other members of Henyard's circle play. Among the top echelons of Dalton's administration, the extent of these investigations indicates that this case is far from being a simple political scandal. Rather, it may be a systemic issue of corruption at the heart of Dalton's local government. The leadership style of Henyard's, which is marked by intimidation and retaliation, has only increased the outrage among Dalton residents. Federal investigators are currently methodically dissecting this corruption and assembling evidence that suggests collusion and obstruction within Henyard's administration. Of Henyard stifling dissenters and opponents by intimidation and force, one particularly concerning instance concerns Valeria Stubbs, a former trustee who suspects Henyard of being responsible for a violent assault on her house. This accusation highlights the atmosphere of distrust and anxiety that has characterized Dalton under Henyard's leadership. Stubbs, a strong opponent of the mayor, has been open about the possibility that Henyard was responsible for the attack. The shooting incident that left Stubbs' house covered in bullets has risen to prominence in the greater historical account of Henyard's reign of terror. Despite the lack of hard evidence connecting Henyard to the attack, the claim has merit because of her well-documented history of retaliatory behavior. Many locals think that Henyard's propensity to target people who disagree with her, whether through intimidation or more overt means, may have contributed to the violence. Meanwhile, Henyard's petty and vindictive actions have only served to further distance her from the people she is supposed to serve. In one particularly perplexing instance, he perceived as an attempt to make fun of the previous trustee rather than easing tensions. With a thin veil, the situation in Dalton is becoming more severe as these scandals continue, and this act simply served to increase public fury by providing yet another illustration of her lack of empathy or concern for her citizens. Federal agents are said to have been gathering financial records, employment documents, and other vital evidence that indicates widespread corruption within the Henyard administration. The federal investigation into the Henyard administration has revealed startling revelations regarding the abuse of power, financial mismanagement, and attempts to oppose justice. Inner circle of the Mayor K. Freeman is among those involved in the investigation. Allegations of bankruptcy fraud are being made against the village administrator who liked Lacey. Recent issues with Freeman have only increased suspicion that Henyard's closest allies have been conspiring to conceal a wider network of illegal behavior. People in Dalton are now questioning the fundamental foundations of their local government because of the ongoing inquiry. The Henyard's administration, which was previously seen as a shining example of leadership, has now turned into a case study of how power can be abused and misused. Due to the scandal, a history of poor management retaliation, and as federal authorities continue to delve deeper into Henyard's financial dealings and personal relationships, it appears that the actual extent of the corruption may be considerably worse than initially suspected. This immoral behavior has left the town on the verge of collapse. In Vision, it is evident that the public is frustrated with Henyard's leadership, and calls for accountability are becoming louder every day. Residents who once trusted their mayor to lead with integrity are now wondering if their government will ever be able to recover from the harm she has caused. However, the FBI's investigation has given those. The people of Dalton are left wondering whether Henyard's reign of scandal will ever end as the federal investigation continues to uncover new layers of corruption and misconduct. It has confirmed their worst fears that those in power have systematically betrayed their responsibility in favor of personal gain. For many, the hope for accountability has become entangled with a deep sense of betrayal as the community struggles to reconcile the ideal of good governance with the reality of a corrupt administration in the wake of these revelations. High's apparent use of allies like Freeman and Lacey to avoid scrutiny and keep control of Dalton's government is at the core of this corruption crisis. The recent charges against these individuals only serve to further solidify the idea that Henyard's leadership is based on deceit, collusion, and financial mismanagement. As investigators continue to piece together the full extent of the wrongdoing, it is evident that Hun's administration is at the center of this corruption crisis. Has created an atmosphere where gaining power comes before the welfare of the people she was elected to represent. As a result, Dalton residents are currently dealing with the fallout from Henyard's failed leadership. Public confidence in local government has been destroyed, and many are left questioning whether the system itself can be saved for those who suffered under his rule. It is unclear whether they will experience actual accountability, but one thing is certain: Dalton's future is uncertain, and it will require much more than a change in attitude. Their main incentive is now the hope for justice. The Tiffany Henyard scandal ultimately concerns the failure of a whole system to respect the values of transparency, accountability, and integrity as federal investigators continue their work, not just one woman's dishonest behavior. The citizens of Dalton are left to pick up the pieces of a government that has let them down time and time again. And when more information about the scope of Henyard's acts becomes available, it is evident that Dalton's corruption narrative is far from done.
It investigated Henyard's use of a police security detail, taking officers off the street and costing thousands of dollars.
Concerns about Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Illinois, are only getting worse as federal investigations tighten their hold on her. Her attempt to get out of this mess was a huge mistake, especially since the FBI is keeping tabs on her every move as the investigation moves forward. Federal officials are working nonstop to stop Henyard from wreaking more harm on the village, but insiders warn there is still much more to come. Due to her legal obstacles and political scheming, Camp Henyard has been actively vetoing any attempts to investigate her behavior, including preventing Lori L.W. from being hired before the financial investigation is completed. Residents of Dalton, who have been demanding Henyard's resignation for months, are now becoming more and more irate as bribery rumors circulate. As the FBI investigation progresses and the legal landscape becomes more complex, it's hard to see how Henyard can keep her job much longer because the municipal structure just does not allow for such leadership in these situations, while Henyard's veto powers have been contested. When the final report from Lori Lightfoot's team is released, it is likely to reveal even more of Henyard's dubious actions or actions that suggest she is surrounded by a network of supporters, including former deputy police, as the village trustees have overridden her decision to allow the investigation to proceed. Chief Lisa Lacey and other enablers who appear unable or unwilling to disassociate themselves from the alleged corruption. But how long can this arrangement continue? The town of Dolton is suffering under Henyard's leadership, and its citizens are on the edge of collapse as they watch their taxes disappear into her lavish lifestyle. The main concern of all is what this means for Tiffany Henyard. If you believe she was already having problems, but now that the stakes are higher than ever, Henyard might face serious legal repercussions if the bribery charges are confirmed. Bribing a federal agent is a severe offense that carries a lengthy prison sentence of about 2 years, with the possibility of years in prison. Federal officials are reportedly questioning witnesses as part of the investigation into the Henyard case, which involves federal investigators looking into possible fraud, corruption, and other offenses. The FBI is investigating a number of offenses, including bribery, which is one of the most serious charges. Federal law is strict when it comes to bribing federal officials, and convictions for this offense carry sentences of up to 15 years in prison. A foundation connected to Henyard's activities, though unrelated to her personal actions, has also come under scrutiny, but this only serves to increase the severity of the investigation that could result in charges. Growing intricacy of the circumstance, her acts are starting to come apart as investigators piece together a huge network of criminal activities, including Henyard at its center. Legal experts are already making predictions about Hen's future, saying that she would be sentenced to jail if found guilty all counts. The FBI has declined to comment on the nature or status of their inquiries, which is usual procedure for the FBI, and she faces heavy fines and possibly even the loss of her office in response to the continuing inquiry. Agency, there is uncertainty on the whole scope of the probe. However, as Hen's public relations staff insists that neither the mayor nor the municipality of Dalton has received subpoenas or been approached by any law authorities. Perhaps the most well-known incident that led to the investigation into Henna's behavior was the Thornton extravaganza, which began as a joyful and family-friendly gathering, but quickly devolved into a full-fledged scandal. Became a symbol of Henderson's disrespect for public funds when it was discovered that tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars were used for musical performances, an extravagant expenditure that many residents saw as an irresponsible waste of public funds. This incident is a crucial illustration of Henderson's dubious spending practices, which have been crucial to the ongoing federal scrutiny as federal investigators continue to delve deeper into the corruption. The pressure on Henderson is increasing as she tries to. Residents of Dalton, who are already fed up with her leadership, are demanding answers as trying to stall the probe and hold onto power is starting to backfire. Now that bribery accusations are on the table, it is unclear if Henyard will be able to withstand the increasing pressure or if the walls of accountability will ultimately close on honor.
A one day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing is,
although some Dalton residents have commended Mayor Tiffany Henyard for her work since 1993, pointing to her initiatives for the elderly and those on fixed incomes, the real cost of her leadership has been borne by blue-collar inhabitants who must live with the consequences of her choices. The mayor's lavish spending, especially on events and parties, has made many people feel as though their hard-earned money was a waste. The mayor's claim that the $85,000 party was beneficial to the children in the community caused outrage, which in turn fueled months of calls for her resignation. However, despite these demands, her actions show little remorse or change. In fact, she has doubled down on her claims that she has cleaned up Dalton despite the growing evidence that her disregard for Dalton's finances has caused grave concerns. According to a study headed by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Dalton has a $36 million deficit since Henyard entered office in 2021, mostly as a result of her careless expenditure. The investigation found that, in addition to this Henyard, taxpayers had paid for extravagant vacations that included first-class flights and opulent accommodations, as well as tens of thousands of dollars spent on Amazon. Faced criticism for trying to organize township events without the Board of Trustees' consent. When the board rejected her suggestions, she vetoed their attempts to interview Lori Lightfoot for additional research, making it apparent that she did not want her financial transactions to be monitored. The board overruled her veto, which prompted Lightfoot's inquiry, which revealed not just expenditure problems, but severe issues with the police department as well. It was discovered that two officers, including Henyard close ally Deputy Chief of Police Lacey, had accrued overtime pay that exceeded their base pay, costing the municipality an extra $200,000. Even though Lacey has been refused, she is among the increasing number of members of Henyard's close circle who are being investigated for bankruptcy fraud. Obtaining state funds, Henyard continued to throw lavish parties and waste public funds on things the town could not afford. Her refusal to admit the seriousness of her financial mismanagement has further irritated the community, which feels more and more deceived. Meanwhile, the FBI has been using electronic surveillance to learn more about her alleged use of taxpayer funds for out-of-town expenditures are making her leadership more under scrutiny, and even as investigations continue, Henyard appears determined to maintain her position of authority, which only heightens the sense of impending collapse. The situation in Dalton is now being compared to a house of cards gradually collapsing as the investigation uncovers more concerning information about her financial practices. The absence of responsibility and the cooperation of those who knew her well, there is still considerable turmoil around Henyard's reign, and locals are left wondering how long this unbridled power will survive before everything falls apart.
More and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
According to Valeria Stubbs, a former trustee, Mayor Tiffany Henyard may have been involved in a violent attack on her home, which she feels was revenge for her outspoken opposition. Stubbs' accusation that Henyard is a narcissist and would stop at nothing to maintain her position of power highlights the poisonous political climate that Henyard has fostered in Dalton, where decency is fraught with perilous repercussions. The lens Henyard is depicted in a terrifying manner by the counterfoil situation. Could be prepared to travel to silence her detractors before the federal inquiry into Henyard's conduct is getting stronger as more details come to light. Expected to come forward are witnesses and informants who could offer vital proof of her complete depravity. Hen's actions are particularly concerning in relation to her foundation, the Tiffany Henyard Astor's Foundation, which was first founded to aid cancer patients, but whose financial operations have caused concerns behind the scenes. the Henyard former, an assistant who is currently a trustee, has revealed the foundation's failure to make its financial information public. Because of this lack of transparency, there are suspicions that Henyard may have been using the foundation as a front for even more dubious activities, possibly directing public or private funds into illegal ventures. As federal investigators close in on Henyard, it appears that almost everyone in her immediate vicinity is either avoiding her or getting caught up in their own legal troubles. But despite these growing difficulties, Henyard has shown no signs of stepping. Despite bribery allegations and numerous lawsuits, she continues to downplay the seriousness of the investigations. It is now unclear whether she genuinely thinks she is untouchable, living in a bubble where the repercussions of her actions won't reach her Dalton home. She is becoming more and more disillusioned, and it is getting harder to keep up the appearance of successful leadership. She clearly has no intention of voluntarily leaving her position, as seen by her inability to accept responsibility for her mistakes and her relentless fixation on holding on to power. The community is watching the gradual and agonizing breakdown of her administration financially, and the township situation is being portrayed in two very different ways. Her leadership is now universally viewed as a disgrace. The Henyard's team asserts that the township has gone from a deficit of more than $2 million to a surplus of more than $6 million under her direction, but these assertions are hotly debated, and it's difficult to accept them at face value given the ongoing investigations into her financial practices. The true question is not whether the Henyard's administration will fail, but her refusal to accept responsibility for her actions has left the town on edge as everyone wonders whether she will finally be held accountable or continue to elude justice as she has done in the past. In the meantime, the town is left to pick up the pieces while investigations continue. This is because her closest allies are dealing with their own legal issues, and it seems inevitable that her leadership will collapse under the weight of these scandals that fall out from her time in office. Repairing. Henyard supporters applauded her at a recent meeting as she bragged about the township's financial success, but the atmosphere was different from previous gatherings. Residents are becoming bored, and many are wondering how long Henyard can keep up her charade. The coming months will be crucial in deciding whether Henyard's reign will end or whether she will continue to avoid the repercussions of her actions. Because of the several investigations that are ongoing and Henyard's actions, the people of Dalton are weary, frustrated, and ready for change. Above the law, the community is hungry for a resolution, and the truth about her leadership will eventually come to light. It's hard to tell what more scandals might surface, but one thing is certain: her tenure in office is becoming more questionable. We'd want to hear your comments on this. Is Hen's reign finally coming to an end, in your opinion, or will she keep eluding justice as she has so frequently done? For additional updates on this ongoing story, remember to subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments section below. It is by no means finished. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.